Like, I like historical fiction, but I'm not really trying to read about my enslaved brothers and sisters. It's literally called television channels. We shit through the channels. Anyway, let me not get into it because I can go down that rabbit hole too. Hey, what's famous, your girl Bella. Welcome back to my channel. So this intro is going to be a little bit chatty because I have not filmed in 2 weeks. Like, I have not sat down and filmed in 2 weeks, and y'all probably noticed that I hadn't like posted a video for 2 weeks, but I just posted a video a few days ago and it was like reading 1-star reviews of my favorite books. Definitely go check that one out because I was getting pissed off. But I haven't filmed in a while because, as y'all can tell, new setup. I am in a new apartment, so I've been moving, I've been organizing, I've just been getting my life together, and I have also been traveling a little bit, having guests. Like, these last 2 weeks have been so crazy, so I just haven't really had time to sit down and film, and I'm so excited that I am now. I love my new setup. I just like tried this out just now and I was like, wow, the way that the books are on display is giving 10, except for these ones are kind of ugly. This is actually my ugliest shelf, so I'm kind of sad that this is what y'all are seeing, but I'm gonna make her look cuter so that y'all don't have to see that, because she's not that cute. She's not a super cute shelf either. But anyway, so today I'm filming my March wrapping up all the books that I read in the month of March. So I'm super excited. I usually film this video at the very end of the month or right at the beginning of the new month, but it's already April 6th and I'm just now filming it just because life has been lifing. And for today's beverage, we have a calm chamomile tea. And I like to show y'all what I'm drinking, and if I'm dog sitting, I like to show y'all the dog I'm sitting. But this dog, she's a Catahoula cur. Her name is Zeta, and all she does is lay in her bed and sleep. Let's go ahead and pull up these stats. So I kind of want to do my wrap up a little bit differently. I usually just tell y'all my wrap up in the order of how I read the books, but I think this month I want to do it from my lowest rated books to my highest rated books, just to kind of switch it up and do it a little bit differently. I want to make these videos more interesting because personally I love watching these videos, but I feel like I want to try to find a way to make them a little bit more fun for y'all to watch. Okay, so let me give y'all my stats. So for the month of March, I read a total of 8 books. This is actually the least amount of books I've read in a month this entire year. No, that's not true. In February I read 8 books too. But I read 8 books, but this was my best reading month by far. My average rating was 4.1 stars. Out of those 8 books, 5 were fiction, 3 were nonfiction, and I read a total of 2,897 pages with an average page count of 362 pages. And it's also funny because this is the most pages I've read in a month as well. 3 physical books, 4 audiobooks, and 1 ebook. Let's get into the books. So mind you, I only had 3 stars and above. So in my opinion, a 3-star book is not a bad book. It's a book I would still recommend, but it's just like an okay book for me. My lowest rated book was actually The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama. I gave this book 3 stars. This is a nonfiction memoir, and it's a total of 319 pages. Do I need to tell page count? Is that necessary? Anyway, I read this via audio. So this book, what is it about? It's kind of about like Michelle. Sorry for the interruption. Maintenance came in and Zeta hates loud noises, so I had to comfort her. But The Light We Carry is a memoir by Michelle Obama, and it is more so about like her life after being in office and just kind of like her giving advice. I don't really even know. This book, in my opinion, was kind of boring. There were some times when I was reading it and it was like, you're in closer, I wanted to give it 2 stars. I'm not gonna lie. It was a 3-star book though. It was perfectly fine. But I read her first memoir and I thought that one was really, really good because it was more about like her upbringing, her life in office. This one felt just like more political in my opinion, and I wasn't trying to read a political book, like, and that's how it felt to me personally, so I didn't enjoy it as much as her first memoir. But if you are interested in reading this book, I would still say check it out if you liked her first one. It seems like a lot of people who liked their first one also like the second one, but the second one is definitely much different tonally, so I didn't love it as much, but it was still okay. The next book is The Atlas 6 by Miss Olivia Blake, and I gave this book 3 stars. This is a fiction fantasy book, and some of the tropes are that it's multi-POV, and I read this via audio. So as y'all know, I actually started reading this book last month and I DNF'd it because I was tired of Miss Olivia Blake's writing personally. But I decided to finish it this month because I got an audio copy of it. I just know I could not read it with my eyes because I just couldn't. But I enjoyed this book more than I thought I would. There were some times, like when I was first reading it, I was thinking I was gonna get like a 4 stars, but I ended up getting a 3. This book is about these 6 different magicians who are invited to attend this academy, and only 5 of them will make it out. And so it's pretty much like a competition to see like who will make it out. But there is like a lot of things that come out in it. I think for me, one of the reasons why I gave it 3 stars is that I just didn't really feel connected with any of the characters. I will say the audio was a very good experience because like each character has a different voice, and I think the voice narrators really embodied who the character was. But I just personally didn't like care about any characters. Even like towards the end something happens and I didn't really care. Like I didn't care enough about the plot or the characters who want to continue on in the series, because the second book, The Alice Paradox, just came out I think at the end of last year. So this is the only book in the series I'm going to read, and I don't plan on reading any more from Miss Olive Blake. She's just not an author whose writing style I really love, and I don't really connect with her characters. But I'm glad I read this because it was a book that I told myself I must read this year because it's very anticipated. So Atlas 6. The next book is Good Morning Monster. A therapist shares 5 heroic stories of emotional recovery. This book is by Katherine Gildner, and this was a nonfiction psychology book that I also read via audio. I've been doing a lot of audio this month, like, I don't know. So this book, one of my friends, Kyla, actually read it first. This is about a therapist and pretty much 5 different patients that she has. And she's talking about like some of the things that they talked about in their stories, I guess. And so one patient is Native American. I think 3 are white women and 1 is an Asian man. And so it's just like the different stories that she had with them and the different things that they went through and their journey. And I like how at the very end she kind of realizes that there are some parts where she was in a way kind of not self-inserting, but I guess she kind of realized at the end that she too, even though she's a therapist, she needed therapy too, because a lot of the women clients she had, at least the 3 that we followed in this story, where she realized that like they had similar trauma to what she had, and she feels like she was like maybe subconsciously picking them out because she could relate to their trauma. And so I thought it was interesting at the end how she realized that about herself, that even as a therapist that she needed therapy. I enjoyed this book. At first I was leaning more towards 4 stars, but I don't feel like it was very memorable in my opinion, which is why I gave it 3. But if this is something that might interest you, I definitely say check it out. There are trigger warnings, of course, because this is a therapist talking to her patient, so check the trigger warnings. But I thought it was definitely interesting, it was insightful, and I'm glad I read it. The next book is 16 and Pregnant by Lala Thomas. This is a this is a fiction YA contemporary, and I read this via ebook. It's my only ebook of the month, and I'll tell you right now, I love ebooks. Even though I only read 1 this month, like I love ebooks. Enough said. Okay, so this book is about 2 best friends, and both of them end up getting pregnant at 16 years old, and they're in high school, and it's about their different journeys. One of them decides to keep the baby, one decides to not keep the baby, and we're following like both of them, their process of like coming to terms with what they want to do, their friendships. This is a dual POV story, so you do get both of these friends' points of view. I was so torn with this book. I don't know if I want to give it 3 or 4. I think this book did a good job. I like how this book had some educational pieces to it. Like there was some medical terminology that's used, but the characters are obviously 16, so like they might use a word like, I don't know, C-section. Like they would use bigger words than C-section, but or they might use like preeclampsia. They'll say preeclampsia, and then girl would be like, oh, what's preeclampsia? And then the doctor would explain it. And I like that because I'm a corporate galley. I work in finance. I'm not a science gal. I don't know a lot of terminology like that. So I like that they explained it without making you feel like you were dumb. And I also like how this story touches on issues of like medical malpractice, medical injustices. I don't know if that's the right word, but just like medical disparities of like Black women being pregnant, Black women giving birth, how Black women, their pain is not tended to, how they're sometimes told to get C-sections when they don't need them just to like get the process over with, and how like Black women are not treated equally in the medical field as patients. I like how it touches on that, especially for a YA book. I thought that was really, really important. I think again for me, I just didn't really like connect with the characters very much. I do like how it is more of like an urban book. One of the girls who gets pregnant, she comes from more of like they're both in like this like school that's like a very nice school, but one of them has a kind of a rougher upbringing, single mom who's like trying her best to make ends meet, and the other one has like more of a nicer upbringing, like more of a suburban upbringing, but they're still like best friends. I like that a lot. I just think that I didn't really super duper connect with the characters. I think if I was in the right age range, I easily could have gave this book 4 stars. That's why it's like a 3.5 for me. But for me at this current age, I would give it a 3. But I still do think it was a great book. I think if you like Hawaii contemporaries and this sounds interesting to you, you should definitely check it out. Like even though I give this book 3 stars, like I'm so glad I read it. And this is actually going to be a series like through MTV. It's based off like the different shows they have, so that's why it's called 16 and Pregnant. So I will definitely read the other books that are going to be in this like MTV series for sure, because it was interesting. I just think that it didn't do a lot for me, but I still did enjoy it. The next book I read is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I gave this book 4 stars. This is a fiction contemporary romance. This book is about our two main characters, Yasmin and Josiah, And I don't talk to deeply about this book because I do have it planned for a reading vlog, but I'll still talk about it because I don't know when that vlog is going up. It might not even be in April. It might be like May. So I'll just talk about this book. This is about two main characters, Yasmin and Josiah. They were a married couple, but they end up getting a divorce. They end up getting a divorce, and we don't know why. We know it's a tragic reason why, but we're getting like a few flashback chapters. We end up finding out the exact reasons why they get a divorce. And this book is about their relationship, the children that they have, friendships. I think this book did what it set out to do. I think Candy Ryan 100% did what she set out to do with this book, which is why I'm giving it 4 stars. I think it accomplished the task. This book is very, very highly talked about, highly rated. I don't know anybody who's given this book less than 4 stars, like that I follow or that I'm friends with. But I think for me, I was expecting a book that was going to make me cry, and I didn't cry. I'm not cold-hearted. I used to be someone who can cry like so easily. I've cried in a lot of books. Like I cried into All the Boys I Loved Before multiple times. But I didn't cry in this book, and I wanted to cry, and I didn't. There's one point where my eyes got a little bit wet, but no tears fell out. Historically, I don't like second chance romance. Like I haven't really liked any other second chance romance. This one I did like. I liked that it was more gritty and that it was more of a hard-hitting romance. Colleen Hoover does a blurb, and y'all know she was a hard-hitting romance, so. The prose in this book is really good. Candy Ryan knows how to write a book and tell a story, which I really appreciated. There are characters in this book that I did not like. Like, I didn't really like Yasmin's friend group. I felt like they were, one, like, low-key too much in her business because they became friends, like, after her divorce, and they were kind of like all up in her business trying to like get details that weren't necessarily being given to them. And also one of them, I think her name was Hendrix, she was a little bit doing too much. She'd be like, your ex-husband's so fine. Like, what? Like, she would be saying like low-key out-of-pocket things, which I didn't like. And then also Yasmin and Josiah have 2 kids together. The son, Kasim, so cute, love him. Like, I could just picture him like the sweetest little boy. And the girl, I think her name was Deja. Disrespectful, that's all I can say. But this book was good. I enjoyed it. It is a dual POV story, so you do get both Yasmin POV and Josiah's POV and a few flashback chapters. I definitely think this book is worth the hype, and I'm glad that a lot of people are talking about this book because it's getting, you know, black authors and black romances out there. And even though I'm not like a huge Colleen Hoover fan, I don't like or dislike her books. There's some that I've liked, there's some that I haven't liked. I'm glad she blurbed it because that's definitely helping this book to reach a wider audience, and we need that. We definitely need that. So thank you, Candy Ryan. Thank you, Colleen Hoover. Pick this one up. Now the last 2 books I have are all 5 stars. The first one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I'm not even gonna talk about this book because it's a reread. I've talked about this book so many times. This is a nonfiction self-help book that I read via audio, even though I do own it. I literally reread it because I wanted to like actually go in and annotate it because I have like in-depth notes about this book, but then I read it via audio, so I didn't even end up opening it, so I didn't do that. This book is so pretty on the inside. This is my first time opening it. How to Create a Good Habit. Oh my gosh, look at these charts. I might reread this book again just because of the charts. This is the book that like I think I definitely need to read at least once a year, maybe like twice a year, because I just love like being reminded of, oh my god, this book is so gorgeous. I need to read this physically because I love this. This book is all about habit formation, and the tag is literally Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results. This book is all about habit formation, why we have the habits that we have, how to build better habits, and how to get rid of bad habits. And I love how this book is just very, very practical. It's funny, on the back, the first thing I saw was supremely practical. But this book is amazing. I don't want to talk about it too much. I have a whole entire video where I break this book down. If you want to check that out, it's in the cards. And I've mentioned this book a million times. It was like one of my favorite books of last year. Not going to go into it because I could go down a rabbit hole. The next book is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I also gave this book 5 stars. This is a fiction, dark academia fantasy book, and I'm so glad I read this because it was also my video of books that I need to read in 2023. Very anticipated. I love dark academia. This book is about our main character, Galaxy Stern, and she is able to see ghosts, or what they call greys in the book. And she's able to see ghosts. She has like a rough upbringing, but because of her ability to see ghosts, she is, I think it's Princeton, or is it Yale? Is it Yale or is it Princeton? It's Yale. She gets recruited by this academy at Yale. Not academy, this like institution. I don't know what it's called. This group at Yale. She's recruited by them to pretty much oversee the, why can't I remember words now? Oh. She gets recruited to oversee these secret societies and make sure that when they perform rituals that they're not doing anything they shouldn't be doing. And there's also another character in this book called Darlington. He is pretty much like helping her to become, I forgot what the title is, but he's like training her to do what she's doing because he can also see greys. We can only see them once he takes like this little potion thing. She can just see them at all times. So she has like a supernatural ability. And this book is so good. If you love dark academia, this is the book for you. The reason why I love this book is because it's like an urban fantasy, so it's more of like a not not too much world building, very much like present day fantasy. And I like that because I'm trying to step into fantasy, so I can't get into fantasy yet. That's like way too deep. I'm not a fantasy reader historically. I want to get into it, but I need something like this where it's like more of like a light fantasy. I love this book because I am very into secret societies. Like, do I want to be in one? Absolutely not. But I've done a lot of studying on like secret societies, Greek life, Freemasonry. Like, those are topics that personally like are very interesting to me, and I love that this book talks about this. You can tell that this book is just so well researched. Leigh Bardugo actually went to Yale, and she gives like all the books that she read, all the like pamphlets, all the resources that she used to create this novel, because you can just tell this book is very, very well researched. And I love that because people be thinking that secret societies that they're fake. They're very much real, and what they be doing is very much real. And even though this is like a supernatural book, all the elements of like crossing the veil and everything, like I feel like it's real. I'm confident that it's real. Like, it has to be, like, it's real. And I love how at the end of the book she lists like each of the societies and like what they specialize in and famous people that are in that society. And it was interesting because there's one where like it's all about like illusions and what you're able to like see, and there are people like Anderson Cooper and other like popular like news reporters who were in that society. I think that's funny because like that society is all about illusions, and it's literally called television channels. We shit through the channels. Anyway, let me not get into it because I can go down that rabbit hole too. But honestly, when I read this book, it was more of a 4-star for enjoyment. But this is a book that I'm giving 5 stars because I'm 100% confident that when I reread this book, it will get 5. It was more like a 4.5, but I gave it a 5 because I know upon reread, like I said, it will be a 5. And I've already been recommending this to my friends, like especially I have one friend, Kyla, who she's into this stuff too. She's into it even more than I am. I said, Kyla, this book is for you. I already have Hellbent on my shelves. I own Hellbent but not Ninth House. Let's not talk about it. But can't wait to read that. 5 out of 5. Would recommend to a friend. And this book is also like dual timeline, so you get to see like Alex before she was at Yale. Is it Yale or Princeton? I think it's Yale. Before she's at Yale and then after, and it's also like dual POV, so you see mostly Alex's POV, but you also do see some of Darlington's POV as well. Okay, and the very best book that I've read this month is Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. This is a historical fiction book based off of a real life event, and I just filmed a video where I was reacting to 1-star reviews of my favorite books. I was getting quite upset about this one because this book is about a this book is about a nurse named Sybil who she's working at a women's health clinic, and so she is in charge of giving young girls the depot birth control shot, because they're trying to reduce the amount of pregnancies, especially amongst women who are poor or who might not be able to take care of their children as well if they get pregnant at a young age. So she's administering a depot shot. This one, the depot shot is like still new. It's not even FDA approved yet, and as we know now, the depot shot has a lot of issues, but she's a black woman administering this. She doesn't know like all the issues with this shot. And the story also does include illegal sterilizations too. I don't want to get like into too much of the details because I want y'all to read this book and like be wowed the way I was wowed. But this book is based off of a real story, so like even though this is a fiction book, it's based off a real story, which I really like. And I enjoyed this book. I enjoyed that this book has a court case, but the court case does not take the whole entire book. Like there's a lot of story before the court case and a lot of story after the court case. So the court case is like right in the middle. This book is slower paced. It is a dual timeline story, so we're seeing it from Sybil's POV during this time period, like the 1970s when all this is going down, and also like in the 2000s when she's like looking back at the situation. And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the dialogue. I enjoyed how this was all about like women's rights, and there's talk of abortions, there's talk of illegal sterilization, and just how like, you know, some women don't want to have kids, some women do, but like regardless, it should be a choice that should be centered around women. Anyway, I just enjoyed the story. I thought it was really hard. I thought it was a really good story. It is slower paced, so if you want like a fast-paced story, this is not it. This book is slower paced, and it stays slow paced like throughout the entire book, but definitely a book that people gain like a lot of knowledge from. Like I learned a lot while reading this book, and I did some research on my own as well after reading it, and I think this is a very important book, and I'm so glad that it's written. I didn't even realize this author also wrote 12 Years a Slave, which I'm not very much into stories about enslaved people. Like, they're good, I'm glad they exist, but it's not really my type of book. Like, I like historical fiction, but I'm not really trying to read about my enslaved brothers and sisters. But I enjoyed this book, recommended heavily. It will probably be in my best books of 2023. I'm not sure yet because it's only March, but definitely enjoyed this one. Alright, so those are all the books that I read in the month of March. I had a fantastic reading month. Like I said, my average rating was literally Oh, my average rating was actually 3.9 stars. It was not 4.1. I lied. But this has been my best reading month by far. Nothing below 3 stars, so that is a win in my book. Let me know down below in the comments what was your favorite book that you read this month. Have you read any of these books? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!